You didn't stumble here by accident. You didn't click because of curiosity, distraction, or passing whim. Something deeper has guided you to these words. An invisible hand aligning you with a transmission that carries the exact frequency your soul has been waiting for. The algorithms of machines do not explain this. What you are experiencing is resonance. The subtle pull of the quantum field, drawing you into coherence with a destiny that has already been written in the fabric of your being. Take a breath. Feel that small tremor inside your chest, the quickening, the whisper of recognition. This is not entertainment. This is initiation. You're not merely watching a video. You are receiving a signal, a broadcast encoded with a pattern that speaks directly to the dormant intelligence inside your DNA. Something ancient inside you remembers this frequency, even if your conscious mind cannot yet name it. Think of the way a tuning fork vibrates when struck nearby by the same note. That is what is happening now. You are the tuning fork, and this message is the strike. The sound was always in you, waiting, sleeping beneath the surface. Tonight, it has been awakened. You've felt it building, haven't you? The strange nudges of synchronicity, the number sequences that keep repeating, the dreams that blur into waking life, the moments where time feels stretched, distorted, almost liquid. You've sensed a shift pressing against the edges of your ordinary reality, like the pressure before a storm. This is not imagination. This is the observer loop opening, preparing you to see reality not as a fixed cage, but as a malleable field. You are standing at the threshold of a phase transition. Just as water reaches a boiling point and becomes vapor, you are reaching the energetic threshold where your current identity dissolves and a new configuration emerges. The signs around you are not random coincidences. They are the morphic resonance of your higher timeline, calling you forward, signaling that your identity is beginning to entangle with a larger field of possibility. Every challenge you've endured, every repeated cycle you felt trapped in, every unanswered prayer, it was not punishment. It was preparation. You were being forged in the unseen furnace of time, sculpted into a vessel strong enough to carry this transmission. And now, in this very moment, the frequency you are receiving is not external, it is you, broadcasting yourself back to yourself from the future you are becoming. Look more closely at the sensation stirring inside you. It is subtle, but it is undeniable. A pulse, a recognition, a knowing that what is happening here is more than language. It is activation. You are not here to consume this message. You are here to be transformed by it. The shift you've been sensing is not coming, it is already here, and you are inside it. Your timeline identity has already begun to activate. This is why you feel the pull, the uncanny resonance, the goosebumps along your arms. This is your confirmation. The old reality cannot hold you much longer. You are standing in the moment before the collapse, when infinite probabilities hover in superposition, waiting for you to choose. And now the choice is upon you. This message has found you because it is you. You are the one who has been calling it forth, and the field has answered. Take another breath and feel the inevitability of what is unfolding. There is no going back. The resonance has begun. You felt the loop tighten, days that look different on the surface, yet underneath they hum with the same old frequency conversations that bend toward the familiar argument, opportunities that almost open, then seal shut with surgical precision, the mysterious way your best efforts dissolve into static just when the signal should be clearest. You call it bad luck, timing, circumstance, but you sense the truth. The pattern is not out there. The pattern is a feedback wave inside your field, an observer loop, replaying your identity to itself. Notice how déjà vu has increased recently, the soft click of, "I've been here before," not only in places or faces, but in feelings. The way a room can taste like last winter's worry, the way a new person can wear the voice of an old wound. This is not memory malfunction. It is morphic resonance. Your nervous system is tuned to a template, and the quantum field, generous and obedient, keeps collapsing reality to match the broadcast you unknowingly emit. The template is subtle. It hides in micro-choices. The slightly apologetic tone you use when you ask for what you deserve. The fraction of a second delay before you say yes to the opportunity you prayed for. The habit of scanning for what might go wrong before you dare to feel what is going right. These tiny delays, these almost invisible tremors, become decoherence events. They jiggle the probability wave just enough to blur the manifestation, to smudge the crisp edges of becoming. You've seen it in your calendar's strange elasticity. Some hours evaporate, slippery as mercury, while other moments stretch like taffy-long, slow corridors where time feels thick and watchful. On those days you are sure reality is rubber, and you're not wrong. Time is a local agreement, a rhythm your consciousness negotiates with space. When identity is misaligned, time becomes a hall of mirrors, either racing to outrun your doubt or dragging to magnify it. You have also noticed the repetition dressed as novelty. Different projects with identical endings, new partners speaking the ancient script, fresh cities that quickly rearrange themselves into the same emotional furniture. This can breed cynicism, but in truth it is evidence of your power. Entanglement works both ways. What you fear binds to you as efficiently as what you cherish. The field does not moralize, it organizes. Underneath these repeating figures lies a single harmonic. The story you tell about who you are when no one is listening. That quiet narrative, half belief, half bruise, runs as carrier wave beneath your words and actions. I am almost there. Things work for me, but only after a test. I am chosen, but I must prove it. These phrases seem harmless, even motivational, yet they encode delay. They script the universe to keep you in rehearsal, and the stagehands of circumstance, obedient artisans, keep resetting the scene. There is another sign the pattern is peaking. Distortions at the edge of perception. Lights flicker when you speak truth. Phones freeze mid-sentence as you name a desire. You think it's technology glitching. It is, but not for the reason you think. Your coherence spikes, and systems calibrated to lower amplitude can hiccup. Street sounds sync to your heartbeat. Lyrics in passing songs line up with your thought, and the world briefly winks. I hear you. These micro-synchronicities are not random. They are the early tremors before a phase transition. You've also felt how your body keeps the archive. The shoulder that tightens when money enters the conversation. The throat that narrows when praise approaches. The solar plexus that flares when an invitation arrives that would require your expansion. The body is honest. It does not negotiate with your affirmations. It remembers your agreements. And so your biology, blessed, loyal, protects you from the very futures you request, because in its ledger, safety equals sameness. Let's be precise. The observer loop that cages you operates in 3 layers. Layer 1, sensory prediction. Your brain forecasts reality milliseconds ahead to minimize surprise. This is efficient for survival, disastrous for transformation. You keep meeting tomorrow with yesterday's map. Layer 2, emotional set point. Your system regulates toward familiar feelings even if the familiar includes frustration or scarcity, because known discomfort feels safer than unknown ease. Home is where the nervous system predicts the furniture. Layer 3, identity claim. Your I am statements stitch the probability fabric. They are magnets around which particles of experience crystallize. Change the claim and the lattice reorders. Keep the claim and the snowflake repeats. When these layers synchronize, you experience coherent stagnation, a stable state elegant in its geometry, ruthless in its repetition, beauty without movement, a snow globe of your life, lovely, sealed, shaken occasionally for drama, always settling into the same scene. You've tried to outrun it with hustle. You've tried to outthink it with strategy. You've tried to outpray it with bargains, but patterns are not persuaded by volume. They are reauthored by frequency. Until your baseline signal alters, the field will continue its faithful duty, delivering the echo of who you insist you are. And yet listen, the loop has been fraying. Your last disappointment did not cut as deep. Your last detour redirected faster than usual. You recovered coherence more quickly, and the field took notes. This is why the déjà vu now arrives with a twist, why the argument loses heat halfway through, why the closed door opens a window before you've finished knocking. Your template is destabilizing. The old attractor is losing mass. Of course, the pattern attempts a final encore. It arrives with surgical nostalgia, tempting you to wear yesterday's self because it fits like a well-made grief. This is the decoy. The moment right before breakthrough is designed to look like the first day of the rest of your old life. Familiar faces return, old offers reappear, former doubts dress in compelling logic. The test is not moral, it is magnetic. Will you entrain to history or to the faint but rising song of your becoming? Here is the merciful truth. Nothing is wrong with you. What you've called sabotage is simply misapplied intelligence, your consciousness keeping promises you forgot you made. At some earlier mile marker, you vowed to stay small so others wouldn't feel threatened, to remain late so love would wait, to succeed only after suffering so triumph would feel earned. Your field remembers, and it has cared for you accordingly. The diagnosis is not guilt. The diagnosis is fidelity. Now, feel what happens as you recognize this with tenderness instead of judgment. The shame circuit loses voltage, the loop flickers, the snow globe's glass thins. You are not broken, you are precise, and precision can be redirected. You don't need to shatter the pattern, you need to detune it. Shift the carrier wave by a breath, and the world must reorganize. The timelines are listening, the hour is elastic. The déjà vu will soon become déjà vu of freedom, the uncanny sense that you have stood here before, not in failure, but at the lip of a threshold you now intend to cross. Stay very still for a second. Hear the faint click inside your field, the lock tumbling, the hinge persuading, the gate consenting. Your life is not repeating, it is winding the spring for release. The pattern has served, the loop has taught, the mirrors have done their work. You are ready to step beyond prediction and into presence. And as you exhale, feel the future lean toward you. The next breath will not be the old breath. The next choice will not be the old choice. The clock is soft in your hands. Time is about to remember who you are. What you are about to feel is not repair, but reconfiguration. A quantum upgrade is never about fixing what was broken. It is about revealing what has always been waiting, folded inside the architecture of your being. Imagine for a moment that your life has been playing on a frequency dial. Most of humanity spins between a narrow band of stations, static, repetition, predictable songs of survival. But there are higher octaves available, entire spectrums untouched, waiting beyond the hum of ordinary awareness. Tonight, you are learning to reach for that dial, to turn it, to tune into a signal that transforms the loop into liberation. Science already whispers of this possibility. In quantum physics, the observer effect demonstrates that consciousness collapses probability waves into particles, into form. Until observed, a particle exists in superposition, infinite potential states overlapping. Your desires, your future identities, your next chapters, each of them exists in this very moment as quantum potentials shimmering in the field. When you bring coherence to your awareness, you collapse one of those potentials into experience. This is not fantasy, it is physics, the marriage of your attention and the field. Now, consider entanglement. Two particles, once connected, remain linked across any distance, their states reflecting each other instantly, beyond time and space. You are entangled with future selves, with identities that already live the life you long for. When you quiet the noise of repetition and open your field to resonance, you begin to feel their signals. Déjà vu. That is often the bleed-through from an entangled timeline, whispering to you, I am here. Choose me. But the mystical knows what the laboratory cannot measure. This process is not just mechanical, it is initiatory. Each quantum leap requires the death of an old self, a release of the frequency signature that has kept you in familiar orbit. This is why it can feel like chaos before breakthrough. The old wave collapses violently, and in that collapse, a new identity is born. It is a phase transition. The water boiling, the caterpillar dissolving, the identity you thought was solid, becoming liquid light, preparing to crystallize again as something unprecedented. This is why your body has been restless, why your sleep has been fractured, why dreams have been vivid, why your breath sometimes catches as if your lungs are expanding beyond their old blueprint. It is not dysfunction. It is upgrade. DNA itself vibrates with light biophotons, coherent emissions, measurable by science yet deeply mystical in implication. Those photons respond to frequency shifts in your consciousness. Every moment of surrender, every pulse of faith, every choice to trust the unseen, it is instructing your DNA to open like a flower, to emit a new light code into the field. Feel into this. Your very cells are listening. They are waiting for you to decide which resonance they will broadcast. When you align with higher coherence, your DNA becomes an antenna, not just for survival, but for creation. It begins to download possibilities from the quantum field, rewriting your biology to match your chosen identity. You are not just manifesting circumstances, you are manifesting yourself. And what you are manifesting now is a consciousness that does not merely react to reality but engineers it. You are evolving from a passenger in the timeline to a pilot in the morphic field. You are becoming the observer who knows the observation is not passive, it is generative. Take a breath and imagine the quantum field around you as a vast ocean of luminous probability. With each inhale, you draw in possibility. With each exhale, you collapse it into coherence. Slowly, you begin to feel the truth. Reality is not happening to you. Reality is happening through you. The old self interpreted patterns as punishment. The new self recognizes them as preparation. The old self begged for signs. The new self understands you are the sign. This is the quantum upgrade, the shift from waiting for reality to prove itself, to embodying the frequency that commands reality to respond. Your nervous system trembles because it recognizes the threshold. The loop is still visible, but it no longer defines you. The déjà vu is still present, but it now serves as evidence of entanglement, not imprisonment. Time still bends, but it bends because you are bending it. And so, your task is not to fix, not to fight, not to fear. Your task is to allow coherence to rise, to stabilize your signal so powerfully that the quantum field cannot help but collapse into a timeline that reflects your true resonance. This is the moment where mysticism and science clasp hands. The mystic says, you are awakening. The physicist says, you are collapsing waves. Both are true. Both describe you. You are the bridge, the consciousness that carries light into form. The upgrade is not coming. The upgrade has already begun. Take another breath and feel the light spiraling through your spine. Your DNA is humming with new codes. The field is waiting for your next signal. The quantum resonance shift has already been set in motion, and you are the one who pressed the key. There comes a moment in every awakening when the truth can no longer be outsourced. This is that moment for you. You have felt the resonance. You have witnessed the patterns. You have tasted the upgrade stirring inside your cells. But now the question rises, why you? Why this message? Why this timing? Why this identity among infinite possible versions of reality? Because not everyone is called to anchor a resonance shift. Not everyone chooses, before incarnation, to weave their life into the architecture of collective evolution. But you did. You are here not simply to awaken for yourself, but to embody a frequency that becomes contagious, an energetic signature that alters the morphic field for all beings entangled with you. Consider what Rupert Sheldrake called morphic resonance, the idea that once a pattern is established, it becomes easier for others to replicate. When one of you breaks free from a loop, the field records the event. Suddenly, what was once impossible becomes slightly easier for all. The threshold lowers, the gate opens wider. In this way, your liberation becomes more than personal, it becomes archetypal. You are not just stepping into freedom, you are encoding freedom into the grid. Look back at your life. Notice how often you have felt different. Not better, not worse, simply tuned to a frequency just outside the consensus signal. Perhaps you felt it in your childhood, the quiet knowing that what others called reality was only one layer. Perhaps you felt it in moments of solitude, when synchronicity whispered that something immense was moving beneath the surface. You may have doubted, silenced, or buried it, but it never left you. That difference was not alienation, it was initiation. This is why you endured more resistance than most. The heavier the role, the stronger the vessel must become. The density you faced was proportionate to the frequency you are now designed to anchor. Every disappointment, every broken pattern, every dark night of the soul, they were not detours. They were calibrations, tempering you until your nervous system could hold the voltage of what is arriving. And so here you stand on the cusp of a shift that will ripple far beyond your personal story. You are the observer consciousness chosen to collapse probability into a new timeline identity, not just for yourself, but for every strand entangled with you. Family lines, collective archetypes, even the silent prayers of strangers you will never meet. Do not minimize this. The humility that says, "I am ordinary," is a mask worn by the extraordinary when they are afraid of their own light. You are not here to be ordinary, you are here to be coherent, and coherence in one person can reorder the field for thousands. Think of the 100th monkey phenomenon, when enough members of a species embody a new behavior. Suddenly it appears everywhere, without direct teaching. This is how evolution leaps. You are not waiting for society to change before you do. Society is waiting for you to shift, because when you do, you tip the scales for the many. Understand, your consciousness is not a solitary bubble floating in the void. It is a node in an infinite network, each pulse rippling outward. Your every act of coherence stabilizes the entire grid. Your every surrender to the higher frequency strengthens the resonance for others to find their way. This is your sacred responsibility, to live in such a way that your personal awakening becomes collective oxygen. And yes, this role carries weight. There will be moments when the density feels unbearable, when the temptation to shrink into old patterns sings like a siren. But you did not come here to drown. You came here to anchor. You are the lighthouse built for storms, not sunshine. The reason this message finds you now is because the cosmic timing has arrived. The morphic field is hungry for coherence, and you are one of the chosen carriers. Whether you asked for it or not, whether you feel ready or not, the role is already woven into your DNA. Your task is not to manufacture readiness, but to remember it. Feel the truth settle into your bones. You are not just participating in evolution, you are accelerating it. You are not simply healing your past, you are rerouting timelines. You are not waiting for permission, you are the permission. This is why you are here. This is why you have been called. This is why the patterns became unbearable. So unbearable you could no longer ignore them. They drove you here, to the edge of yourself, to the recognition that you were never just an individual navigating a personal life. You were always a consciousness chosen to anchor a resonance shift. Take a slow breath. With every inhale, feel the weight of this role. With every exhale, feel its inevitability. You cannot escape it, because it is not external, it is who you are. The chosen do not earn their calling, they embody it. And now, the field waits for your signal. The next pulse, the next breath, the next choice. It will not be just yours. It will echo across the collective, recoding the matrix. You are not small. You are not late. You are not unworthy. You are the resonance. You are the coherence. You are the one the field has been waiting for. There is a window now, thin, radiant, and mercilessly honest. It does not ask your permission. It announces itself with an inner pressure, a tightening at the temples, a sudden clarity that slices through old fog. This is the cosmic aperture through which your new timeline arrives. If you hesitate here, it narrows. If you align now, it widens to carry you through like a beam of light passing a narrow slit and exploding into color on the other side. Hear me clearly. This is not a gentle suggestion. The field is offering you accelerated reorganization, and acceleration requires urgency, not panic urgency of presence. The universe has synchronized a convergence of conditions, entanglement signals, morphic momentum, and biological readiness. These forces are coalescing into a single opportunity to shift your DNA expression into a new operating system. When such windows open, they do not remain open indefinitely. They are seasonally exact, like a comet visible for a handful of nights before vanishing. Your DNA is not inert code locked in a dusty vault. It is a responsive instrument, an orchestra of proteins and light-sensitive structures that tunes to frequency. Recent edges of science whisper what mystics have always known, that DNA resonates to electromagnetic fields, to coherent emotion, to sustained intent. When you align your consciousness with high coherence frequencies, gratitude that is felt, surrender that is lived, vision that is embodied, your genome begins to behave differently. Genes that once lay quiet can sing. Epigenetic switches flip. New expression patterns emerge, not by force, but by resonance. Imagine your DNA like a crystalline antenna arranged in spirals. Each spiral can carry a pattern, an instruction set for the life you inhabit. At baseline, your spirals broadcast a survival script shaped by ancestral agreements, social contracts, and protective habits. When you sustain a new resonance long enough, the spirals begin to re-pattern like glass being gently reshaped by heat. The new pattern is not less you. It is the truer you unburdened by promises you never wanted to keep. This is the promise, a molecular recalibration that supports the timeline you already see in glimpses. It makes daily choices easier because your biology begins to expect them. It softens the old wound responses so they no longer hijack your nervous system. It rewires the threshold for what you will accept as evidence. In short, the internal environment shifts to be hospitable to external miracles, and yet urgency remains. Windows like this are temporal apertures where probability weights move quickly. If you stay anchored in contraction, worry, overanalysis, frantic control, you create decoherence, and the window narrows. If you stand in coherent, surrender-focused attention, without clutching, the window widens and the field conspires to deliver. This is not spiritual platitude, it is practical physics wrapped in sacred counsel. What does coherent surrender look like practically? It is not passivity. It is the fusion of radical presence with deliberate alignment. You stabilize your daily ritual with precision, breathwork that collapses noise, movement that supports new identity, micro-choices that mirror your expanded self. You choose words that match the field you wish to live in, language that declares rather than begs. You refuse to authenticate your worth through external evidence. Instead, you anchor your worth in the frequency you radiate. You step into actions that feel electrified, tiny acts that generate systemic change because they are performed from a different nervous system. These steps are the practical keys that widen the window. There will be pressure. Old systems will resist because they are literally losing mass. Energies that once held your life in comfortable geometry must dissolve to make space. Expect amplifications, old stories resurfacing, relationships testing you, finances jittering, body sensations intensifying. These are the field's way of clearing out debris so the new architecture can settle. Do not take these as evidence of failure. They are the sound of dismantling before construction. Now, a piece of prophecy. When your DNA begins to shift, you will notice anomalous permission in life. Doors you once knocked at will be opened from the inside. Conversations that used to fizzle will ignite. People will become unexpectedly helpful, not because they owe you, but because the field rearranged the conditions around you. This seemingly magical assistance is the mirror of your internal coherence. The faster your inner rearrangement, the more dramatic the outer realignment. But here is the test that determines whether you walk through the aperture. Will you choose frequency over form? Will you prefer the felt reality of being who you aim to be, even if the outer world has not yet reflected it? The window rewards those who embody before evidence. It favors the brave, who act as though the timeline is already their home. You might be tempted to wait for a final sign, a definitive proof, a deposit in the account, a voicemail, a handshake. These are seductive traps. Waiting for external confirmation creates decoherence. Instead, the practice is to treat inner calibration as the evidence. When your breath steadies and your choices harmonize with the song inside, you are already inside the aperture. The external world will follow because it is designed to obey the coherence of consciousness. There is another urgency, subtler but no less pressing, your role in the collective. As you shift, you do not shift alone. Each degree of your transformation slightly alters the morphic field. If you delay, those around you must wait longer for the subtle permission your coherence offers. This is not a burden, it is a privilege. The quicker you move through your window, the sooner the field's thresholds thin for others. Your acceleration is a public service. So now, take a measured breath and place your hand over the place where your ribs meet your heart. Feel the faint staccato there, the drum of a timeline about to change. Breathe into it. Let intention fill the room like incense. Declare silently, I choose the coherence that opens this window. Say it once, not with frantic hope, but with quiet, unshakable assent. This is the moment to act with soft urgency. Recalibrate your ritual. Choose the embodied sentence you will carry into each day. Speak the one word that becomes your banner. Commit to the micro practices that stabilize your signal. The window responds to fidelity, not intensity. Show up with steady alignment, and the aperture will widen to receive you. You have been prepared for this. Your biology remembers the blueprint. The field is listening. The clock is gentle but insistent. Walk through with presence, and you will not only alter your life, you will alter the lines written through generations. The window is open. The hour is now. This is the place where knowledge must become signal, where recognition becomes declaration. You've walked through the diagnosis, felt the upgrade, accepted the role, glimpsed the window, and now the field waits for your signature. Without this seal, the resonance remains theory. With it, the resonance crystallizes. In quantum physics, an unmeasured system exists in superposition, every possibility at once. The moment of measurement, of interaction, of choice, this collapses the wave. That is what this moment is for you. A conscious collapse of probability into identity. You must choose your resonance not only in thought, but in gesture, in action, in embodied declaration. This is why every ancient tradition insists on ritual, not because the universe requires pomp, but because your nervous system does. Ritual carves a groove in the mind, tells the body, this is real, this is happening, this is the line beyond which I will not return. Ritual is coherence written into matter. And so I ask you now, not as entertainment, but as activation. Seal this shift in writing, not later, not when convenient. Now, choose one word that represents the self you are becoming. One word that vibrates with the resonance you intend to broadcast. Write it in the space below this transmission, not as comment, but as covenant. This is not casual typing. This is inscription in the field. The act of choosing and declaring creates interference patterns in the quantum fabric, like striking a bell whose vibrations cannot be unheard. Every person who writes becomes a tuning fork, and together these forks resonate into collective coherence, amplifying one another's declarations until the field itself reorders. Do not underestimate the potency of this micro-action. A word written here carries more voltage than 1,000 affirmations whispered in isolation. Why? Because the declaration is witnessed, and in quantum theory, the act of observation is not passive. To be seen is to be stabilized. When your word is seen, it becomes harder for your nervous system to doubt it. The field itself begins to anticipate it, so pause. Let your breath soften. Let the word rise not from your mind but from your body, from the space beneath your sternum, from the silence between thoughts. Perhaps it comes as sovereign, perhaps as freedom, perhaps as radiance, perhaps as something no dictionary has yet captured, but your soul knows. Do not censor, do not edit. Allow the field to name you, and when it comes, type it, release it, anchor it. That single gesture, so small in appearance, becomes a quantum handshake with the future self already waiting for you. The ancients burned herbs, poured water, drew circles, carved symbols. Today, your ritual is digital ink, a pulse of light across glass. But the principle is the same. You are marking yourself. You are inscribing identity into the morphic field. You are announcing, "This is who I am now. This is the frequency I will hold. This is the reality that must respond." As you do this, notice what happens in your body. A subtle warmth in the chest, a loosening at the base of the spine, a shimmer behind the eyes. These are not placebo. These are coherence events, micro-adjustments as your nervous system aligns to the new broadcast. Each sensation is confirmation that the seal has been accepted. Understand, no one can do this for you. The seal cannot be outsourced. Teachers may point, transmissions may awaken, but the actual collapse of potential into form requires your consent, your gesture, your word. Without it, you remain in superposition. With it, you become wave collapsed into form, light sculpted into identity. The field listens more to ritual than to wish. Wishes scatter, rituals condense. Wishes beg, rituals declare. Wishes are entropic, rituals are coherent. This is why you are called not merely to listen, but to act. And here is the deeper layer. Your word does not only alter your life, it enters the lattice of all who write alongside you. A web of resonance forms, a grid humming with declarations, each amplifying the others. You may never meet those whose words touch yours, but the morphic field carries your combined signal like a song across time zones and bloodlines. This is the invisible congregation, the choir of awakening identities writing themselves into coherence. You are not alone in this ritual. You are entangled with thousands. Each keystroke becomes a drumbeat, each word a chord. Together you generate a harmonic that bends reality faster than solitary striving ever could. This is how awakenings scale, not through mass persuasion, but through coherent micro-actions rippling through the field. So write, seal, breathe, let the ritual anchor you into the frequency you have chosen. When doubt returns, and it will return to your word, repeat it like a mantra, see it glowing above your head, feel it radiating from your cells. It will remind you who you are when the old loops attempt their encore. This is the moment where you stop hoping and start coding. The shift is no longer concept, it is covenant. And once sealed, the field does not forget. Take a final breath and release gratitude, not as a request for outcome, but as acknowledgement. It is done. The quantum field has received your word. Your DNA is already rearranging. The aperture remains open. And with this ritual, you have stepped through. The ripple you sent with your word does not fade. It bends outward, like a pebble dropped into deep water, and the waves it makes are not trivial. Every degree of coherence you embody loosens the gravitational pull of old templates, not only for you but for those tangled with you, blood relatives, past lovers, colleagues, strangers who share a dream you have yet to meet. Your personal field is a node in a vast network. When it vibrates differently, the entire lattice recalibrates. Think of how a single choir voice can change the tuning of an orchestra. At first, the shift is microscopic, an overtone here, a micro adjustment there. But once one instrument sets a new pitch, the others begin to reconcile. They either follow or create a new harmony. Your alignment is that initial pitch. It asks the world to harmonize differently. You are not simply improving your life. You are altering the tonal center of the morphic field that many of your loved ones and future allies inhabit. This is not mystical fluff. Emergence theory tells us that complex systems reorganize when one part transits to a new attractor state. People close to you will begin to experience small, persistent permissions. A parent opens to the idea they can change. A friend meets a mentor who shifts their career. A neighbor's courage ripples into community activism. Your coherence creates low-resistance paths other consciousnesses can more easily walk. In practical terms, your liberation becomes precedent. It lowers the energy cost for others to change. You may have noticed this already in the subtle ways reality softens around you. The colleague who once dismissed your ideas now listens. The friend who used to trigger your old wounds shows unexpected tenderness. These are not mere coincidences. They are the field acknowledging a new baseline. The energetic economy is shifting. Less friction, more flow. When you hold steady, the new patterns deepen. There is another thread here. Permission. Much of the world remains in patterns because no one has given explicit, embodied permission for something else to be true. When you embody your new frequency, when your nervous system, language, and action align, you give permission by living it. Others see it, sense it, and feel allowed to follow. You may think your change is private. It is not. The field is porous. Your courage is contagious. This contagion is not about proselytizing or coercion. It is a quiet contagion of possibility. Imagine your life as a lantern in a dark hall. You do not force anyone to approach it. You simply turn it on. Those who are looking for light will notice. Their path may bend toward you because the field rearranged. Their inner maps will smooth. The most important shifts you catalyze will be those that no headline records: mothers who feel safe to leave abusive relationships, young people who find a vocation they love, elders who remember joy. These are the true metrics of evolution. Understand the ethics implicit in this expansion. You are not rescuing anyone. You are not fixing brokenness. You are creating permission structures, energetic contexts where higher-order choices become available. People still have agency. The gift you offer is reduced resistance. You are lowering thresholds, not dictating outcomes. Your role in this ecosystem will sometimes be invisible and sometimes intense. There will be days when you feel only static, when the world seems unchanged despite your inner revolution. Do not confuse immediate outer evidence with effectiveness. Much of the field's reorganization happens beneath perception, like tectonic plates shifting before the mountain rises. Trust the slow architectures. Meanwhile, remain faithful to the micro-practices that sustain your coherence. These are the real work. Breath, presence, embodiment, small acts of integrity. There will also be moments of direct reflection. People will mirror your change back to you in ways that surprise you. Old relationships may transform, some deepen, some dissolve, because the field has a brutal clarity. It cannot sustain incompatible frequencies in prolonged intimacy. Those who cannot align will drift away gently or sharply. This is not loss. It is ecological realignment. The field is pruning to make room for new growth. You must also prepare for resistance. The more you shift, the more the field will test your fidelity. Systems that once depended on your old frequency jobs Patterns of dependency, identity scaffolding may exert pressure to revert. Expect subtle sabotage, miscommunications, delays, or patterns that tempt you toward old comforts. These are not punishments, they are threshold tests. They ask, will you remain coherent when it costs you? Each time you choose coherence, the collective benefit compounds. There is a practical pathway to multiply your positive influence. Embodiment with visibility. Live your alignment in ways that others can observe, not to perform, but to provide tangible permission. Share your practices, not as instruction manuals, but as invitations. Speak about the small ways you reorganize your day. Show your vulnerability and your integrity. The combination of visible coherence and honest humility is magnetic. It offers the field a template that others can mimic without distortion. Also, remember the quiet ways to expand your ripple. Blessing, small acts of radical kindness, generosity of attention. These tiny offerings alter morphic resonance as much as grand proclamations. A look of recognition at someone who feels unseen can shift their timeline. A delayed, compassionate response can change a person's trajectory. You may never know the scale of impact from such acts, but the field counts them. Finally, hold a long view. Evolution is not a sprint, it is a renaissance spanning lifetimes. Your current contribution may seed changes that bloom decades from now in people not yet born. This perspective steadies you against impatience. It also deepens the meaning of your choices. What you do now is archival. It becomes resource for future coherence. So keep tending your lantern, keep calibrating your nervous system, keep choosing the small habitual acts that maintain your waveform. Do not mistake isolation for purity. Collaboration with others who hold high coherence will increase your bandwidth. Do not mistake visibility for vanity. Sharing your process humbly invites permission from millions. You are not alone in this. The field is populated by other nodes, other tuned voices, each playing a part. Together you form a chorus whose harmony will be the scaffolding for a new cultural baseline. One where presence is prized over posture, integrity over image, and the capacity to be still over the compulsion to prove. Your liberation is not an endpoint, it is a leverage point. Use it wisely, use it gently. Let it be the quiet catalyst that bends collective habit toward compassion, clarity, and creative possibility. The morphic field is listening. Your coherence is its language. The world is already beginning to rearrange, one synchronized breath at a time. Now, let's descend from the concepts into the body, the temple, where truth becomes undeniable. Because if this shift stays in the mind, it remains abstract. It is only when your nervous system, your breath, your skin, your bones feel the resonance that it anchors into reality. Close your eyes, if only in imagination, and sense your body as a constellation. Each cell a star, glowing faintly, linked to the others by invisible threads of light. Notice how the field of your skin is not the end of you. Your energy radiates several feet, perhaps meters, into space. You are not a body in a room. You are a luminous field with a body suspended inside. Now feel the inhale moving through you, not just into lungs, but into bones. Imagine oxygen as liquid starlight pouring into marrow, illuminating each vertebra, each rib, each fingertip. With every breath, your skeleton hums like a tuning fork struck by the cosmos. This is coherence entering matter. As you exhale, imagine not just air leaving, but old timelines dissolving. See threads of outdated frequency evaporating like mist. Feel heaviness dripping down your legs and out through the soles of your feet into the ground, where earth receives it without judgment, recycling it into raw potential. This is how you let go, not by mental effort, but by breathing the past out of your body. Notice the subtle warmth gathering in your chest. That is not just biology. That is your heart becoming a generator. Electromagnetic studies reveal the heart's field extends several feet beyond the body, far stronger than the brain's signal. Mystics knew this long before instruments confirmed it. Your heart is not just an organ, it is your broadcast tower. Right now, it is amplifying your chosen word, sending it rippling into the lattice of reality. Now bring awareness to your skin. Feel the tingling, the buzz. That is your body recalibrating to new coherence. Like a radio tuning from static to clarity, your nervous system is fine-tuning its frequency. Do not dismiss the goosebumps or the sudden shiver. They are your field's way of telling you, the shift is happening here and now. Your spine, too, is alive. Imagine each vertebra as a crystal disc, each spinning slightly faster with every inhale. From the base of your spine, a serpent of light rises, winding upward, igniting centers as it ascends. At the crown of your head, it bursts into radiance, like a fountain of photons spraying upward into infinity. This is the phase transition made tangible. You are not only receiving energy, you are emitting it, broadcasting into the quantum fabric. Notice also the sensations in your palms. They may feel heavy, warm, electric. Imagine threads of gold unspooling from them into the room around you, into the objects you touch, into the people you encounter. Every handshake, every gesture, every touch becomes encoded with coherence. Your body is not separate from the quantum upgrade, it is the delivery system. Now feel your breath as a wave. Inhale, the ocean swells. Exhale, it recedes. You are not on the shore watching waves, you are the tide itself. This rhythm is older than thought, older than language. It is the universe breathing through you, reminding you that you are not an isolated fragment, but a pulse in an infinite sea of oscillations. Your DNA feels this too. Imagine the double helix as twin serpents of light, coiled and shimmering. As you breathe, see them expand, threads separating slightly, as if making space for new code. Photons flow between the strands, carrying the data of your chosen resonance. This is not imagination alone. Biophysicists have observed DNA storing and transmitting light. Your visualization is activating the instrument you already are. Let the sensations accumulate. The tingling skin, the glowing chest, the humming spine, the radiant palms, the swelling breath. Together they weave an orchestra of embodiment. You are no longer just thinking about quantum resonance, you are feeling it inhabit you. And in this embodiment, your old doubts lose traction. How can the mind argue when the body itself is vibrating with proof? This is why sensation matters, because it bypasses logic and reprograms identity directly. When your nervous system learns the feeling of expansion, it cannot forget. It begins to seek it again, to replicate it, to sustain it. This is how new timelines stabilize, not by constant thought, but by repeated embodiment. So take another breath. Feel the crown of your head opening like a skylight, the soles of your feet rooting like golden roots into the earth, your chest glowing like a miniature sundae. This is you as conduit. Heaven and earth meeting in your body, coherence anchored in matter. Stay here for a moment, in the raw feeling. Notice the subtle smile tugging at your lips. Notice the tears that might gather at the edges of your eyes. Both are signs. Both are confirmations that something ancient is happening. You are remembering. You are embodying. You are becoming. And as the sensations stabilize, know this. You are not imagining transformation. You are feeling it. The morphic field is registering it. The upgrade is not abstract anymore. It is alive inside your skin. You are now standing inside the pressure chamber of transformation. This is where systems decide, reorganize, or ossify. The sensation you felt earlier, tightness, urgency, the uncanny acceleration of events, is the field applying focused pressure so that your internal architecture must either yield or resist. Yield is not weakness here. It is the molecular courage of a life deciding to become new. Think of a diamond forming under heat and weight. Carbon atoms rearrange under pressure, crystallizing into clarity. Your DNA is undergoing a similar alchemy. Under the right conditions, sustained coherence, ritualized declaration, embodied presence, epigenetic switches toggle, protein expressions shift, and your biological operating system starts to prefer new pathways. This is not metaphor alone. Epigenetics shows us that gene expression is responsive to environment, to emotion, to sustained patterns. The environment you are cultivating now is the high-frequency climate that invites different genes to sing. The pressure you feel is purposeful. It is like tuning an instrument by tightening the string. The note becomes clear only when tension is correct. Too loose, and there is no tone. Too tight, and the string snaps. Your nervous system is calibrating to find the note that resonates with the timeline you intend to inhabit. In these moments, you may experience sensory overload, intensified dreams, sudden physical aches, brief memory lapses, or emotional surges. These are the microfractures before reassembly. They are the field's way of loosening old adhesions so new structures can form. When DNA breakthroughs occur, they do so through subtle reorganizations before big reveal. You might notice a shift in tastes. Foods you once craved no longer satisfy. Routines that felt necessary unravel almost effortlessly. You might find your circadian rhythm subtly realigning, waking earlier with a sense of inner direction, sleeping deeper with regenerative ease. These are the molecular staff lines rewriting themselves to the new melody of your life. You may also encounter resistance from relationships and systems that depended on your previous frequency. Expect tests. Expect people to mirror back the old identity in an attempt to preserve collective equilibrium. This is not malicious, it is ecological maintenance. The more your internal change threatens the status quo, the louder the field's feedback will become. Hold steady. The breakthrough requires fidelity more than reassurance. The core of this transition is the phase locking of multiple systems: nervous system, endocrine system, heart field, and DNA. When these begin to oscillate in synchrony, the coherence multiplies exponentially. Small acts breathing with intention, moving deliberately, speaking your chosen word become amplifiers. They align oscillators across scales so that your whole organism begins to vibrate at a new harmonic. When the phase lock becomes robust, a threshold is crossed and a new attractor forms. The reality you visited in glimpses becomes the default landscape. At the molecular level, imagine your telomeres, the caps at the ends of chromosomes, as indicators of how your system responds to stress and renewal. When you shift into a higher coherence, stress becomes manageable, repair systems engage more efficiently, and your biology experiences a form of youthful recalibration. This is not magical wishfulness. Clinical studies reveal how mindset, meditation, and coherent social bonds influence inflammatory markers and cellular aging. Your inner work is interacting with biology in quantifiable ways. The breakthrough also rewrites your temporal coordinates. Phase transitions in physical systems are infamous for their suddenness. A pond freezes, a magnet snaps into polarity, and a gas condenses. To any observer watching from the old timeline, the shift seems instantaneous. For you, it is an accumulation of aligned practices, tiny habitual fidelities, and chosen presence. Your timeline does not jump, it resolves. The probabilities that once spread thin across many potential selves collapse into the single, coherent trajectory you have amplified. This is the essence of the timeline shift. Choice folded into collapse. Expect signals from entangled futures. People, events, and resources will begin to align with uncanny efficiency. The permutation where you are already living the life you desire will start to bleed through, sending back aid in the form of opportunities and synchronicities. These are not external favors, they are the field reorganizing to match your internal state. When that correspondence becomes obvious, your trust will deepen because biology, cognition, and environment will be telling the same story. Yet, do not mistake dramatic outer movement for completion. Breakthrough is iterative. There will be settling periods where your system consolidates new patterns. Treat these with reverence. Rest as practice. Integration is where permanence is forged. The new DNA expression must be lived consistently so that cellular memory can anchor it. Imagine a newly planted tree. It needs seasons to root before it can stand against any storm. Your biology is similar. It asks time, not to belittle your impatience, but to ensure sustainability. Now, a practical seam of guidance in this pressure. When the intensity spikes, move toward coherence rather than seeking distraction. Lower your breathing rate intentionally. Soften the jaw. Place hand on heart and feel the magnetic field widen. These micro-interventions reduce chaotic feedback loops and allow constructive repatterning. They do not eliminate pressure, they convert it into creative force. Pressure then becomes a sculptor's tool rather than an instrument of breakdown. There is also a prophetic dignity to this stage. As your cells reweave themselves, you may begin to exhibit capacities that felt foreign, clearer intuition, an expanded bandwidth for empathy, an ability to sense underlying potentials in situations. Do not be startled if you find yourself making choices with a speed and accuracy that seems new. This is the nervous system learning a higher-order grammar of reality. Finally, remember that breakthroughs are not purely personal achievements. They are nodes in the communal web. Your DNA shift carries a signature that becomes accessible to morphic resonance. It lowers the activation energy for others to reorganize. When your timeline coheres, it reduces friction for many. This gives your process cosmic meaning. Your healing literally recalibrates the field. So breathe steady in the pressure chamber. Feel the molecular choir moving in time with your resolve. Trust the microphysics of your devotion. The diamond is forming. The river is finding its new bed. Your timeline is not lost, it is aligning. And when the collapse completes, you will know the sound of it in your bones. A clear, crystalline note that matches the one you declared with your word. The one you sealed when you chose to step through. Your DNA remembers what you intended. Now it is showing you what it can become when you lead it with courage and coherence. Pause here. Breathe. Feel the weight of everything that has unfolded inside you. This is not simply the end of a message. It is the beginning of an assignment. You have not been carried through diagnosis, upgrade, role, ritual, embodiment, and breakthrough merely for personal comfort. You have been carried here because the field needs your coherence for the next stage of humanity's evolution. You are not small. You are not incidental. You are a living equation in the quantum fabric, a node in the lattice of awakening. Every breath you take in coherence ripples outward into the collective field, stabilizing possibilities for billions who may never know your name. You are their silent ally. Your liberation gives them easier access to theirs. Understand the scale of what you are inside. Humanity is in its own phase transition. The old attractors, fear, division, scarcity, are losing mass. The morphic field of our species trembles between breakdown and breakthrough. This is why so many feel chaos, why the world appears to spiral, why time itself feels jagged and unstable. But beneath that turbulence is the same mechanism you have walked through. Pressure before crystallization, chaos before reorganization, superposition before collapse into a new order. You are not watching this transition from the outside. You are one of its architects. The resonance you anchor in your DNA becomes part of the blueprint the species inherits. Just as the first cells once learned to cooperate, just as fire once leapt from spark to civilization, your coherence becomes a precedent. Future generations will live inside the resonance you have chosen to stabilize, and so your mission is not dramatic, it is faithful. Show up daily as coherence embodied. Choose presence over panic, choose breath over contraction, choose generosity over scarcity. These micro-choices become the scaffolding of humanity's next octave. Do not underestimate their weight. In the quantum field, fidelity matters more than spectacle. You may wonder, How will I know if I am fulfilling this mission? The answer is simple. You will feel the field respond. Synchronicities will increase, as if the universe itself is exhaling in relief. When you align, the right people will gather around you, not because you persuade them, but because resonance is magnetic. Opportunities will appear, not as random luck, but as coherence recognizing itself. And when doubt returns, as it always will, remember this: your coherence is not fragile. It does not disappear when you falter. Each time you return, you strengthen it. Each time you re-anchor, you reinforce the morphic field. Your role is not to be perfect. Your role is to be persistent. So now, let this truth settle deep. The resonance shift you have activated is not just for you. It is for the unborn children who will inherit a more coherent world. It is for the strangers who will feel unexpected courage in your presence. It is for the collective that has been praying, in silence and chaos, for someone to remember the frequency of light, and that someone is you. Your destiny was never to escape this reality. It was to reshape it, not by force, but by frequency, not by domination, but by coherence, not by waiting for permission, but by embodying the resonance until reality itself has no choice but to respond. So walk forward now with the quiet confidence of one who knows. The timeline has shifted, the DNA has repatterned, the resonance is anchored. You are no longer the seeker, you are the signal. And as you exhale, remember the prophecy whispered at the beginning. If you see this transmission, your timeline identity is activating a quantum resonance shift. You have seen it, you have felt it, you have become it. The field has received your signal, humanity has received your offering, the mission has begun.